Hey kiddos, it's Mr. King. If you can't tell what we're looking at right here, it is a fish tail, kind of a whale tail way of doing it, but we're going to make this a little bit more of like a giant fish. And I'm here talking to you guys about textures. That is the way something physically feels. If you were to run your hands across it, how would you describe it? And so if you run your hands across the skin of a fish, what we call that texture created by those overlapping little kind of nodes that are part of the fish's skin are scales. And so I'm going to try to show you how to do a scaly texture. So we're going to draw right here on our fishtail. And so the way we're going to start doing this is we're going to do this here. You know what? I am going to try to turn this so you guys can see. I can keep it going the way I'm talking about the letter. I want to draw the letter U. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a letter U, and then right next to it I'm going to draw a letter U, and right next to that I'm going to draw a letter U, and I'm going to keep that up. And then I'm going to proceed to draw another letter U, but this time I'm going to attach my U to the very center bottoms of each of the other U's. And I'm going to create that same thing going on. So watch this. We're going to go on to the fish's tail. We're going to create our U's. And one really important thing to remember is that you do want to do this in pencil. I'm using a computer program, but you would be working in pencil usually, and then go over your stuff in marker if you can. It really does make things look better. But literally, we're just attaching one U to another, and we're going to do that until we go to the edge of the fish. If you notice at the edge of my fish, I'm going right up against the edge, and then I'm stopping. Okay, don't bother going past or over, or trying to squeeze your U in. That would not really do the texture justice, because you got to remember this fish is 3D, so that scale is actually wrapping around to a side that we cannot see. Alright, so just go ahead and draw like half of the U, and then just imagine that it stops on the other side where it would connect. So we're just going to keep going. So the fun thing about this too is that you can, watch this, I'm going to mess up, and I'm going to have my U's end in the same place. And that's okay to do too. I think it makes more of a feather look to it than a scale look, but that is totally okay. You can do that. And you could even do what I'm doing and kind of vary it a little bit. So like my other ones, they ended in the middle of the U, and these ones down here end in the same place, kind of between the U's. And that's totally fine too. You can also do things like if you feel adventurous, you can start making scales different sizes and having more than one overlap in one place or another. This gives kind of a little bit more of a imperfect look, which makes it look more like an actual animal or something like that. And so you could do that. You can change the sizes. Do not worry about doing it. It really is okay. And that's a nice thing to point out, is that if you make a mistake while making this texture, as long as you try not to let the lines crisscross each other, that's really the only thing you need to do. And that's what an eraser is for too. So you can really make as many mistakes as you want to. You can make some scales really big and some really small. And that is totally okay. If you're like me and you're getting these little nodes kind of where you crisscross your ends just a little bit, that's fine too. Just don't worry about it, guys. Have some fun with it. Learn a little bit how to make the texture. I already really like how this is coming out. So I'm going to keep going to the end of my tail here. And then let me show you how to create a cool fish tail texture. Okay? So this is a little bit of fish anatomy, which I know you are all like, Mr. King, can you teach us about the anatomy of fish? And I'm just like, yeah, obviously that's what art is all about. So along the edges of the tail on the outside, there are these little kind of ribs, and they're long, wider ones, and that is where the muscle is. Fish has kind of like two fingers at the end of its tail, and then you can kind of just U off the space in between. And then in between that is the webbing, and the webbing on a fish is usually textured as well. It's kind of ribbed very gently. So we're going to add a whole bunch of that ribbing. You're going to make it pretty close together. The lines run pretty well parallel. You can spread some of them out, especially as you get near the middle of the tail, to kind of make it look like they're fanning out and spreading a little bit more, and that's kind of nice. And then you're just going to make them go on the other side too. That one was a little bit wide, but I don't mind that at all. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. And you guys can see I got a nice fishtail texture. I'm digging this. This looks pretty good, guys. I think I made a really decent fishtail right here. I would definitely spend some time adding some color. So imagine this is going, I'm going to treat this like watercolor paint. If you have your some Crayola watercolors or something around, that would be a really nice option, but I don't know if you guys do. So let's see if I can find the watercolor here. There's a round brush paint. I know that it is here somewhere, and if I can't find it, I am just going to have to set up something else. So gouache actually is a kind of watercolor. We could try this watercolor, see how that works. I haven't used that one very much. So we're going to add a nice green here. And so we can just add a little bit of color. Right, oh yes, quite nice. Look at that fishtail. Looking really beautiful green. That's a decent watercolor. I like this. I might use this brush a little bit more. And then I'm going to make it a little smaller to get into those spaces on the tail here. This is where you break out that smaller detailed brush, because one of the things that I want to do is I want to make a little variation here. And I'm going to make a little bit of a darker color in that webbing in between. So I'm going to go down over here, add a little more blue into it. And we're going to get like a darker green in this part of the tail. Let's make that brush bigger. Whoa, too big. Don't want to overdo it. Too much. Too much. And there's always the possibility we can always add a little bit of smudging in here to bring stuff together if we want to. So I'm going to go up here to my smudging tool. And this would be the exact same thing if you added a little bit of water to your paint after it's on the paper. You put water on it and it will cause the paint to bleed a little more. Make sure your paper's thick if you're going to use watercolor stuff. You don't want to use like computer paper. It will just kind of buckle and wrinkle and look kind of meh. But you can also use thick paper and use Crayola markers and then add water to that, and that will bleed just like watercolors. Okay, so we got this beautiful fishtail. I know you guys have been waiting to see the entire mermaid picture because, you know, that's the... Oh, man, this guy. Well, you know, mermaids come in male and female, and some of them have let themselves go a little bit, and that is okay. But I thought you guys might find that a little amazing. Anyways, have an awesome time. Make some fishtails. Make your own mermaid, mermen, merpeople, or maybe just awesome fish monsters, or just a really big fish, because that's just fun to draw too. I will catch you guys next time. We'll talk a little more about texture. I'm also going to have some stuff that are just drawing tutorials on cool things you can do. Have an awesome day. Enjoy the sunshine, and get outside a little too. Draw outside. It's always more fun. I will see you guys later.